Yes, this is Willis presenting lesson 10 RJ video. Yep, so I'll be evaluating both Guo Xuan and Harry's video. For Guo Xuan, one key learning point that I noticed, one good thing was that his game 1 setup was very well organized with all the rules, etc. Yeah, because for his game 1, he set up the game such that there was a time constraint on holding the ball as well as a minimum pass so that it doesn't it's not that easy to score. Yeah, so his lesson plan was focusing on faking defenders, finding open space essentially for those that are off the ball. Yeah, so I felt that the time constraint factor, the rule that he added uh was very good because it encouraged participants to move about more, the attacking team to move about more to find the open space, so that the teammate can get a pass off in 3 seconds lah. Yeah, so I believe that that is a good addition to the rule because it would force the players to find the open space. If not, the possession would change over. Yeah, which also assisted in his Q&A session because the game 1 was well designed. The participants were able to identify and like figure out what was the lesson objective with about 4 questions asked. Yeah, so I believe that it was a well thought lesson plan Yeah. Second learning point for questions video would be that his practice tasks were actually good lah. I felt that it was a good because there was like progression and not so much a regression but progression from each stage lah. So he started off with a V cut uh passive defender before progressing to active defender. Yeah, so in a sense there is some progression with a passive and an active defender. Also there was a progression to spin move rather than just a V cut. A spin move would probably be a progression compared to a V cut as it requires more motion of the body. Yeah, so that also had a passive and active defender. So I believe that that was a very good addition to the coaching session the practice tasks that were well designed. Yeah, because they facilitated the learning objective well. Yeah. So in terms of application to my own coaching, I think that the first lesson objective of setting up the game would be to try to think of alternative ways to facilitate the motion or the exaggeration to identify the lesson objective So that can be either in the attacking phase or the defensive phase. As mentioned in class, the attacking phase requires a defensive phase as well from the opposition team. Yep, so perhaps I can alter the rules for my own coaching session such that it can also focus on the opposite aspect so rather than just focusing rules that will help promote more attacking, I can also promote more defending, such that the participants would struggle with attacking and they can figure out the issues there. Yep. As for the second learning point, progression and regression of tasks in the practice section, I think that I can come up with more activities, or perhaps just stick to the same activities but include slightly tougher variations or simpler variations depending on the skill activity of the participant So for example, if I did a soccer passing drill just against one-on-one with a player passing drill, a progression could be one touch passing if they are competent enough to do so Yeah, so that is all for questions video. Now moving on to Harry. Yeah, so for Harry's coaching video, the first key learning point would be I noticed that his game setup for game 1, he originally started out with a larger court. It was originally the full half court of the basketball court. Yeah, so we started off the game like that. His lesson objective was quick transitions, where the defensive team wins back the ball and immediately starts an attack quickly. Yep. So I think that the game setup originally was well planned, but however, halfway through the activity itself, he changed it such that the area of the court became smaller. which in my opinion did not facilitate the lesson objective well lah. Yeah, because his lesson objective was on quick transitions. By decreasing the playing area, the defensive team would be more compact to defend. So it will be very difficult to play quick passes to get a fast break lah against the opposition. Yeah, so even if they win back the ball, the middle section, because it's more cramped up with more people in a smaller area lah, so it's more cramped up, so it's harder to actually play through and run with the ball lah. Yeah, so in my opinion, that was alteration to the game setup that was unnecessary on his part lah. Yeah, as for the second learning objective, I felt that the Q&A session was well facilitated. Participants were able to identify the learning objective. However, that was a minority of the participants. Probably about 2 to 3 out of the 6 participants managed to understand the lesson objective, whereas the rest were still like stuck behind. Yeah, so from what I noticed when I was participating in the lesson itself, the Q&A session was relatively short. Yeah, so that made it such that it was very fast paced, like question after question. Even though participants answered, not many were given a chance to answer lah. Yeah, it was always the same few, usually Wei Heng or Rishi, that was always answering. So the rest of us were still trying to understand and grasp the answers that they were giving before he moved on to the next question already. Yeah, so most of us were unable to understand and process quickly enough before he finished the Q&A session. Yeah, so that's why, as mentioned in the COP video, Guo Xuan also found it like he forgot that there was a Q&A session even. Yeah, so I think that that is one area that could be facilitated better. So how I can apply it to my coaching, my own coaching, would be for the first learning objective, the game setup should ensure that it actually targets the lesson objective. So things that might not affect the lesson objective at all should be avoided lah. Yeah, so things like altering the number of players for a passing game probably would be unnecessary, given such a small area to play with lah. Probably a 3v3 or 4v4 would suffice, because there's not much area to work with. Yeah, so I would probably not go to the extent of a 6v6, because that is unnecessary and whatsoever lah. So along those lines, any other planning for the game setup would also require to be well thought through. Yeah. As for the second learning objective, what I felt could be improved for my own coaching video would be that during the Q&A session, instead of just asking the questions generally, probably we could specifically ask certain students. So for example, when you ask the first 2 questions and you notice that it's always the same few participants that are answering back, and the rest are quiet, perhaps on the next question, the 3rd or 4th, you could pinpoint somebody to give their opinion, or even to add on to another points that somebody else had already said. Yeah, so this way there's a higher level of engagement, such that all participants are aware of what's going on and know what to do lah. Yeah, so that is all I have for Harry's video. Thank you again. This is Willis signing off for Guo Xuan and Harry's RJ video for lesson 10 of S264.